The return of tyranny. How France, the UK, and the EU are sliding into globalist dictatorship. In the 21st century, many believed the era of totalitarian control and authoritarianism had been confined to the history books, lessons learned from the dark pages of monarchic absolutism, Soviet repression, and colonial subjugation. Yet we are now witnessing an alarming global regression. Democracies once seen as beacons of liberty, such as France and the United Kingdom, are rapidly devolving into authoritarian states where censorship, surveillance, and imprisonment of dissenters are becoming standard policy. The illusion of democracy in France and the UK. Under Emmanuel Macron and the newly elected Prime Minister Keith Starmer, France and the UK have embraced policies that would make even Cold War despots nod with approval. The repression of protests, arbitrary arrests, censorship of media and online discourse, and the criminalization of dissent are no longer isolated incidents, but systemic strategies. Whistleblowers, journalists, and citizens questioning government narratives find themselves silenced or behind bars. In France, Macron's heavy-handed crackdown on the Gilets jaunes movement revealed a government willing to use brutal force to suppress the will of the people. In the UK, Starmer's Labour Party has embraced draconian censorship laws under the guise of misinformation and national security, targeting not only independent journalists, but also ordinary citizens who dare to speak out. The architecture of a surveillance state is already in place, and it is expanding. Historical parallels. From monarchy to USSR-style control, this descent into authoritarianism is not without precedent. In pre-revolutionary France and Imperial Britain, monarchs ruled with absolute authority, suppressing free thought and maintaining control through rigid social hierarchies and fear. Dissent was met with exile, imprisonment, or execution. Today's globalist leaders may not wear crowns, but they wield even greater power through technology, financial leverage, and legal mechanisms that allow them to dominate without accountability. Similarly, the Soviet Union, once a paragon of collectivist authoritarianism, thrived by erasing individuality, criminalizing free speech, and constructing an Orwellian surveillance apparatus. Citizens lived in fear, not of foreign enemies, but of their own governments. What we see in the European Union today is a polished digital version of the same machinery. Algorithms instead of secret police, digital blacklists instead of gulags. The globalist machine, a Rothschild-linked elite Agenda 8, the center of this silent coup are supranational institutions, NGOs, and elite banking dynasties, most notably the Rothschild-linked financial networks that have gained undue influence over elected leaders. The EU, far from being a democratic union of sovereign states, is now a technocratic empire serving elite interests. These interests override national parliaments, rewrite constitutions, and impose policies that align with a globalist agenda of control, not freedom. These elites do not answer to any electorate. Their tools are philanthropy, media monopolies, financial coercion, and global treaties signed in secrecy. Through institutions like the European Commission, the World Economic Forum, and privately controlled central banks, they orchestrate the erosion of national sovereignty and individual rights. Digital cages and psychological chains. This modern dictatorship is not only physical, but also digital and psychological. Social credit systems, online censorship, and financial surveillance, such as the coming central bank digital currencies, will soon make it impossible to dissent without being penalized. Already in parts of Europe, citizens have been fined or imprisoned for sharing opinions deemed harmful, fake, or divisive. This is not protection. It is preemptive tyranny. A society where citizens fear their own words, mistrust their neighbors, and obey out of coercion is not a free society. It is a digital panopticon in which every individual becomes both prisoner and guard. The need for a global awakening. Unless there is a mass awakening and uprising against this creeping dictatorship, the future will be one of total subjugation. History warns us of what happens when power becomes too centralized and people are pacified with illusions of safety and progress. The fall of Rome, The terror of Stalin and the horrors of colonialism all began with the justification that the rulers knew best. Now we face a new breed of global emperors cloaked in suits, armed with data and shielded by media. Macron, Starmer, von der Leyen, and their ilk are not leaders of nations. They are managers of a transnational agenda that sees humanity as a problem to be controlled, not a people to be empowered. Conclusion: resistance is the only path. Forward freedom is not granted, it is seized and defended. The citizens of France, the UK, and the wider world must recognize the war being waged against their minds, rights, and futures. This is not merely a political crisis, it is a moral one. The time has come to reject the manufactured consensus, expose the hidden hands behind global governance, and reclaim what generations before us bled to preserve: liberty, truth, and human dignity.